Hi, this is Sandy from the SewNSew in Glendora, California. I'm here today to show you a new product that we have in our store and new patterns. And the pattern, we have a variety of patterns, but the template is called Boxed Bag Template. And it has a place that you can cut out a square, an angle, and curves. Two of the patterns that I have with me right now are a pie cozy and a wine carrier. I have prepared to demonstrate the wine carrier because, well, you know, it's wine, so that's what I'm going to do. But we also have bowl cozies and an ice cream cozy so that your hand doesn't get cold while you're eating your ice cream. So I'm going to start, as I said, with the wine bag. And the very first step is to get a setup of the materials that you need. I'm not going to give you dimensions. Obviously, you need to buy the pattern for that. But you need two different fabrics. One is going to be your outside, and one is going to be your lining. And then you need a strip for the handle as well. I prefer to have that handle out of my outer fabric, but you can mix and match them as long as they match. It does not matter. So that is going to be your setup. You're first going to get those materials ready. So you have a front and a back and a strap. And I started, that's not the one. I started by sewing my strap together. So the very first step for me was to fold this strap in half. And simply sew all along the long edge. And then you're going to turn it out so that it is right sides out. So it would be incredibly boring to watch me sew those straight long edges. So we're not going to do that. But this one you can see has been sewn, turned right side out, and then positioned with the seam in the back of the strap. So one side has a seam and the other side is just the fabric. The next step is to sew your front, your front pieces together. My bad. Your outer pieces together, and that is simply sewing everywhere along the side. So all the way down the side, all the way down this bottom, and then all the way up the side. Obviously, I forgot the step of cutting the square out, which is very easy to do with this ruler. You position it and cut out just that square, and position it and cut out just that square. So that makes it really easy to create that corner. Then you would sew your sides together and the bottom. On the outer piece, you do that all the way around. On the lining piece, I am going to sew that, but I am going to leave enough for my hand to get through there because I need to be able to pull it through. So right sides together, and I'm going to start right here. So I can get my hand in there. And these are all 1/4 inch seams. And I am going to secure this end stitch, which is something we quilters don't do a whole lot because we sew over those seams, but I am going to secure that seam. Then I don't ever take this out of here. I just twist it around and start sewing that other side again at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Remember, on the lining, we want to leave a space to be able to turn that around. Once again, I'm going to backspace, and then I'm going to shove this little bottom piece in there. Some people might call that lazy sewing. I think it's efficient. I don't have to stop and cut all the time. And I'm going to bring this last end in. And I'm going to sew just to about here so that I can get my hand in there. So it's not an exact measurement. Then I'm going to cut my thread. And then somewhere back here I have scissors. Here they are. So then I'm just going to trim all these little tails. So then you can see that the lining was not sewn about that much, just so that I can turn it right side out when I need to. So that is that step. You're going to cut out your squares. You're going to position your outer fabric right side together and sew all the way around. You're going to position your lining fabric together and sew all the way around except for an opening. And you're going to sew your strap together, turn it right side out, and be ready for that when we need it. So the next step is to create those corners, the boxed corners, which are really fun to do and actually very simple if you know what you're doing. So we're going to help you know what you're doing. This is the outer part of my bag. So I've already, this is the lining of my bag. You can see my opening here. So I've already created those box squares. So you're going to put the product inside your strap. I've just used battings of scrap, but scrap batting, but you can use whatever works best for you. So on the outside piece of my wine bag, I am going to slip the strap inside with the seams together, and I'm going to poke it out this hole. Excuse me. I'm going to fold the pieces together and line up all of these seams. I've got the seam from here, I've got the seam there, and I've got the seam from the bottom of my bag. And I am just going to stitch across there. We want that strap poking out like that so that it's sturdy, because you're going to put a bottle of wine in here, for heaven's sake, you don't want it to fall out. So I'm going to just sew a 1/4 inch seam right there. And then I'm going to, whoops, I'm sorry, I'm not used to this machine. And I'm going to do that on the same thing on the other side. You'll notice that I've positioned the seam of the strap to the right side, because when we turn this all around, we're going to get the right side out. So then I still need to put the other edge of the handle in through the hole that we've created to make our boxed corners. I'm going to position that with the seams just like I did the first one. And then I'm going to sew that 1/4 inch seam right through here. And of course it didn't sew because I unthreaded my needle. And that won't take much, sorry about that. It's just like sewing at home, right? And of course I'm standing here, so it's I can't see what I'm doing. Ta-da! Threaded, ready to roll. So I'm going to start over, put my needle down, sew that 1/4 inch seam, take a back stitch there just for security, and then snip all my threads. Sewed that time. Ta-da! So then you can see that I have these wonderful boxed corners. The next step would be to trim this off because that just adds a lot of unnecessary bulk. So I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to trim that off. There we go. And then I am going to, I have all these pins, I have to take them out or I'm going to get hurt. Then I need to take my lining, which is already boxed as well, and turn it right side out. And there's those beautiful boxed corners. Now I'm going to take the strap and tuck it all the way down into the bottom of the bag, and I'm laughing because the last time we did this, I did it wrong and couldn't figure it out. So that strap goes all the way down into the bottom of the bag. And then I'm going to line up my box corners. So here's a box corner. I just do it with my fingers and get my fingers in there and line that up so that my lining is snug up against there on that side, and then my lining is snug up there on that side. So I have my right sides together, and then I'm going to sew all the way around that opening with a 1/4 inch seam. And I already have that done. So I've sewed all the way around the top with a 1/4 inch seam. And you can see it's the same thing. I've got my right sides together in here, and my strap is all the way down at the bottom of this bag. And then I'm going to pull my lining out. So now I have both wrong sides here. Then I'm going to reach in that hole that I made. It fits my hand. And then I found it really easy to grab the bottom of the bag and pull the bottom of the bag through the hole. So then we have our bag completed. Once again, I got to get in there and clean up those box corners so they're secured. Then obviously you would sew this shut. Well, I can do that. So now you're going to sew this shut. You can do it by hand, but why? You have these wonderful machines to do that. So I'm just going to sew that seam shut. I don't know exactly where the end of it is. So that's completely ready. So now I'm going to take the bottom of my lining and put it into the, just shove this all right inside the bag. And I have pressed this already, so it should be pretty easy to sew. Then I'm going to bring the strap up, and like I said before, when we lined that up, we lined the seam up to the right side of the fabric. Now it's coming here, and we don't have that seam showing on the outside of our bag. And so I'm just lining that strap up on the one side, and then I'm going to line the strap up on the other side, matching those seams up. And then I'm just going to sew once again a 1/4 inch on there. It just finishes it more nicely to have that sewed. And it holds the strap in place as well. Of course, I gotta get my pin out of there. If I had done this with the free arm, it would have been much simpler. You could just keep going around the circle there, but for our purposes, we want the flat surface for what we're doing here. There we go. Oh, trying to figure out what's holding it back. My sewing. So I've gone all the way around and I cut the thread. Go. And our wine bag is complete. So I have a bottle of wine to show you just how this works. And then I have some scrap fabric that I just tied together. I put a little note on there that says thank you. And I'm going to tie this around here. I know we all have scrap fabric, so I know you can all make a little strap somehow, or a little gift bow. And there is our wine caddy. Very fun, very easy, very quick. And yes, I had a lot of things prepped ahead of time, but what I've had prepped ahead of time isn't going to take you all that much work. So a wonderful hostess gift for you to show up at a picnic or a party with a wine gift and a bottle of wine. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed our time together. I'll look forward to seeing you at the SewNSew.